Alright, we're going to go ahead and start in lesson 7 for some of you, and for some of you my other classes will be known as section 1.1. Either way, it's solving multi-step equations. So in this section, again, we're going to follow the inverse operations, which means we're going to be if we see an operation of addition, then we're going to do the inverse of that, which is to subtract. We'll do that, the subtraction with the addition, the multiplication with division, and the division with a multiplication. Alright, when you're solving multi-step equations, there are different ways to solve this. We are going to try different forms. We're going to try combined like terms. We're going to try with some reciprocals, some distributive property. Either way, what we're trying to do is show the process, which means I want to see the steps. When you're working on your packet, we're looking for the process, not the answer. So if you turn in something that has all the answers and I see no process, I see no steps, understanding how to get to the answer, then that's not going to be acceptable. Now, when you're using multi-step equations, there are different tools, there are different ways in which you can solve. Each of you were taught differently in some of how to solve these. You can look at this video and see the way I do it. If there's another way that you learn from another teacher, if there's some other tool, something else that you had used before that helps you, then use it. What we care for is the steps, the process. Okay, so here's our first example. We're going to use combined like terms as our first step. So here you have negative 2 plus 3x plus 3x equals 10. So our first step is to combine these terms together. So we're going to go ahead and combine like terms. So negative 2 and 3x plus 3x is going to give us 6x. And that's going to equal to 10. Alright, next step. Alright, so we have a negative 2 plus 6x equal to 10, and we want to solve for x, so that means that we're going to have to get rid of this negative 2, which means we're going to go ahead and add 2. So we'll go ahead and add 2 on both sides. So we're going to add 2 here, and that'll cancel this 2, and then we're going to add 2 here. So we're going to end up with 6x is going to equal to 12. Okay, so following that step, again, we want to solve for x. Since we have 6 times x, we want to use the inverse of the multiplication, which means that we're going to divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 6. The 6 is going to cancel, and so what we have here is x equals 2, and that would be our answer. So we did a division of 6 as our step. So here are 3 steps: combine like terms, add 2 on both sides, then divide by 6. That'll leave us x by itself, and x is going to equal to 2. As far as checking your answer, make sure you go back and plug it in, check that it's correct. I'll go ahead and skip that. I'll let you guys do that on your own. Alright, for our second example, we're going to be using the distributive property here. Alright, so our first step here is we have a negative 2 times x minus 4 minus 5 equals 3. So that means that the first step we're going to do is we're going to distribute. Okay, so that means we're going to take our negative 2 and multiply that by x, take our negative 2 and multiply that by negative 4. Negative 2 times x is going to give us a negative 2x. Negative 2 times the negative 4, the signs are the same. When the signs are the same, it's going to be a positive, and that will be a positive 8. Bring down the negative 5, and then that'll equal to the value of 3. Alright, so that was our first step, distribute. Alright, so now we have a negative 8 and a positive 8 and a negative 5. That means that we can combine like terms. So we're going to go ahead and combine those terms. Negative 2, we bring that down. 8 minus 5 is going to give us a positive 3, and that's going to equal to the value of 3. Okay, so now the next step here is that in order for us to solve for x, we want to have this by itself. Well, we got to get rid of this 3 because this is the next step here. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 3 on both sides. The 3 is going to cancel. And so that means that what we're doing here is we're going to add 3, so we're going to be left with negative 2 x is going to equal to 3 minus 3. Well, that's going to give us a 0. So that means this last step was to add subtract 3. I'm going to correct that real quick. Okay, so now we have negative 2x equals 0. Okay, in order for us to solve for x, we need to divide, because we have negative 2 times x, so the opposite of multiplication using the inverse operations is to divide. So we're going to go ahead and divide both sides by negative 2. Either way, this is still going to give us x equal to 0 divided by negative 2 is going to give us a 0, so the answer is 0. So this last part was to do a division of a negative 2. Again, what you want to do is check your answer. So you want to go ahead and plug that 0 here, confirm that this is going to equal to a value of 3. Okay, our next step is to use the reciprocal. Alright, so reciprocal really means that we're going to use the flip. Okay, so here's our example. 18 equals 1/2 times negative 3 plus 3n. So some of you might get confused by this, so let's rearrange this and move this to this side over here. So I'll leave it as 1/2 times negative 3 plus 3n equals 18. Now some of you feel probably more comfortable looking at the half on this side. Whatever works for you, if this makes you feel more comfortable, then this is fine. I just wanted to show you how changing your left side of the equation to the right side and the right side to the left side doesn't make a difference. So we're going to go ahead, start by doing the reciprocal. The reciprocal means to flip. So we have a 1/2. So what is the flip value, the reciprocal value of 1/2? Well, the reciprocal value of 1/2 would be the value of 2 over 1. So we're going to go ahead and multiply this as 2 over 1, and that way we can get rid of the half. But if I multiply on one side of the equation, remember, if you multiply on one side, you must multiply on the other, so that we're going to go ahead and multiply this on this side over here. So what happens here on the 1/2? The 1/2 gets canceled, the 1's get canceled, the 2's get canceled. That means the half times the 2 gets canceled, and then I'm left with negative 3 plus 3n. Well, you know what, I don't even need the parentheses. Is going to equal to 18 times 2, and remember 18 times 2 is really 18 over 1, so this is still going to equal to 36 over 1, which is going to be 36. So our first step was to multiply by 2. So we're just going to go ahead and write down multiply by 2. Okay, so from here, again, we want to solve for n. And so before we can even get rid of this 3 next to it that is multiplied, we need to get rid of this minus negative 3 here. So opposite of subtraction is going to be addition. So we're going to go ahead and add 3 on both sides. So we're going to go ahead and add 3 here and add 3 here. These are going to cancel, and now I have 3n equal to 36 plus 3. 36 plus 3 is going to equal to 39. Now I have my 3 times n equal to 39. Again, we want to do the inverse operation, which is instead of a multiplication, we're going to divide. So we're going to go ahead and divide by 3 on both sides. That way we can cancel that 3, and we're going to divide on this side too. So we have n equal to 39 divided by 3. Therefore, n is going to equal to 13. Don't forget, anytime you answer a equation, plug it back in, verify that it's the right answer, and then you can move on. All right. When we're looking at solving multi-step equations, there's always several ways you can solve these different types of equations. Again, you have to decide what is the best method that works for you, okay, for yourself. So let's look at 2 different ways here of how to do this. So let's start the first one. We have negative 5 minus 6 times x minus 4 equals 31. We're going to try one method, and then we're going to do the same equation on this side in a different form. And you're going to realize you still get the same answer. So for this one right here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with distribution. So I'm going to go ahead and just distribute. So I'll start negative 6 times x and negative 6 times negative 4. So we have a negative 5, and this is going to give us a negative 6x, and a negative times a negative is a positive. They have the same sign. If they have the same sign, it's always going to give us a positive, and this is going to equal to 31. Alright, so my next step would be, let's try, now we're going to go ahead and combine terms. So we're going to go ahead and combine those two terms. We're going to combine 24 minus 5. So we're going to have negative 6x, bring this one down. 24 minus 5 is going to give us 19. And that's going to equal to 31. Okay, now I want to solve for x. So before I can solve for x, I need to get rid of this 19, which means I'm going to go ahead and subtract 19 on both sides. That'll cancel the 19s, and we have negative 6x times x. Negative 6x equals 31 minus 19. That's going to give us 12. Then again, negative 6 times x. And to get rid of a multiplication, we're going to go ahead and divide both sides by the value of negative 6. And so these cancel, and you have x is going to equal to the value of negative 2. Okay, so plugging back in, that should plug in the value for x equals of negative 2 in here, and that should give you the value of 31 when you check your solution. Now let's look at the other side over here. I'm going to try something different. So you can see that there's always several ways in which you can solve equations. So let me start by moving the 5 over. So let's go ahead and add a 5 on both sides. Alright, so the 5s are going to cancel, and I have negative 6 times x minus 4 equals to 36. Okay? Alright, so what I'll do different here is, let me, since this is negative 6 times, because remember the parentheses means to multiply, so it's negative 6 times x minus 4. I'll do the reciprocal, the opposite of a multiplication, which means it'll be a division. So let me just divide. I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides of the equation by the reciprocal of the negative 6. So what's the reciprocal of negative 6? Well, that would be 1 over negative 6. You can put the negative on top or on the bottom. So I'll just put it down there so that way we can see that. And if I would do it on one side, I gotta do it on this side over here. So this would be 1 over negative 6. So negative 6 over 1 times 1 over 6, that's going to cancel these out. And now I have x minus 4. And I'm going to get rid of the parentheses because I already got rid of the number in the front. So I'm left with just what's in here. And that's going to equal to, remember 36 is 36 over 1. 36 times 1 over 1 times negative 6, or 36 divided by 6, is going to give us a value of negative 6. And now we're down to really a two-step equation. To solve for the value of 4, I'm just going to go ahead and add 4 on both sides. The 4's cancel, and if you notice, it's going to give us the same answer. Negative 6 plus 4 is a negative 2. So there are always different approaches, different ways in which you can solve equations. I just showed you here 2 examples, same equation. Whatever works for you, whatever you think makes your life easier, whatever method works for you, whatever step you want to take first, as long as you get to the right answer, as long as you're following the reciprocals and the inverses, the operations, okay, that's what matters. So either way, check your answers, you realize it's the same thing. Okay, and that's all I wanted to bring up on this section. Okay, problems have my solving this, and maybe this helps you a little bit. Whenever I'm looking at a problem, I want to ignore much of the information. So as I'm reading this, I want to just focus on what is it that they're asking me for. So let's go ahead and read this. Martha takes her niece and nephew to a concert. She buys t-shirts and bumper stickers for them. Martha's niece wants 1 shirt and 4 bumper stickers, and her nephew wants 2 shirts but no bumper stickers. If Martha's total is $67, what is the cost of 1 shirt? Okay, so one of the things they also give us is a picture, okay? And if you look at the picture, they actually give us some information, which is the actual value of what the bumper stickers are. So we know that the bumper stickers are going to be $1. Okay, and what's the question asking? So the question is asking, what is the cost of one shirt? So I don't care much about this information right now. All I know is that I want to know what the cost of one shirt is. Okay, so we know the bumper stickers, we don't know the shirts, and if you notice over here in the background of the picture, we don't know the cost of the shirts, it's hidden. So we want to find out what's that cost. Okay, so if we're going to do this, the first thing is we need to name a few things. We need some variables. So we are looking at shirts and bumper stickers. So we're looking at shirts and bumper stickers. So we'll go ahead and write down shirt, and for the shirt, we're just going to use a variable of S. Okay? And for bumper sticker, well, I was going to call it B, but we don't need to call it variable because we already know what bumper stickers are worth. They're worth the value of 1. So we'll just say bumper stickers are worth $1, which means they're worth 1. Okay? Alright, so shirts are going to be our S, our bumper stickers are going to be the value of 1. Okay, so Martha just spent $67 in total between her niece and nephew. So if I write an equation, that means in total, she spent a total of 67. So that means that our equation is going to eventually equal to 67 because that was the amount that she spent. Okay, so now let's look at her niece. Her niece purchased 1 shirt and 4 bumper stickers. And bumper stickers are $1. So really she spent $4 here. Okay, so for her niece, we're going to go ahead and say that it's 1 shirt, or S, plus 4 bumper stickers, or the value of 4. Okay, now for her nephew was 2 shirts and no bumper stickers. So it was just 2 shirts and no bumper stickers. So that means all we need is 2S, 2 shirts. So we're going to go ahead and write 2S. Okay, so now here's our equation. So our equation is going to be S plus 4 plus 2S equals 67. So I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite this as S plus 4 S plus 4 plus 2S. I'm kind of messing up on the S's here, but you can see that. And that's going to equal 67. So here's our equation. I got rid of the parentheses because I really didn't need them. Okay, if there was a number in the front and I needed to distribute, then I would go ahead and multiply that. But since there's nothing in the front of the S plus 4 in the parentheses, then I can just go ahead and get rid of it. So now our next step is to combine like terms. So that means I'm going to go ahead and add S plus 2S. Well, S plus 2S is going to give us 3S. Bring down the 4, and that's going to equal to 67. Alright, our next step is going to subtract the 4. We want to solve for S, so we're going to get rid of the 4. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 4. That's going to cancel the 4's. And we have 3S is going to equal to 63. Our last step is to do a division. Since we are multiplying 3 times S, the inverse of that would be to do the division. So we're going to do a division of 3. That's going to cancel, and S is going to equal to 9. No, not 9. 63 divided by 3 is 21. So it's going to equal to 21. Alright, so let's go ahead and put that answer back onto over here to the front. And find out if this if this answer is correct. So anytime we're trying to solve any word problem, go back and check your answer. Does your answer make sense? So let's go back to what was the question. Martha's niece wants 1 shirt and 4 bumper stickers. So I'm going to write down her niece was going to be 1 shirt, or $21, plus 4 bumper stickers, and each bumper sticker is worth $1, so that's 4. So that means that for her niece, the cost was going to be $25. Okay? Now for her nephew, so I'll write nephew over here. He wanted 2 shirts and no bumper stickers. Well, 2 shirts are worth $21, or 2 times 21. Well, that adds up to, that's going to be $42. So all we want to do is, do these two add up to $67? So we're going to go ahead and just confirm that. We're going to go ahead and add the values of 25 and 42. So 5 and 2 is 7, and 4 and 2 is 6. So that means it does add up to 67. So that confirms that our answers are correct. Therefore, the value for our shirt is going to be $21. Okay, so make sure you always check your answers when you're looking at word problems. And that's our last problem, and I guess we'll see you tomorrow. So that means that they do add up to 67. So this confirms our answer that it does equal 67. So whenever you're doing these word problems,